Hello. Am I live? Do I have good sound? I have a lot of questions. I have a lot of technical questions for you guys. I need your help. Hi. Oh my gosh. I just came to the chat to see that I do have a super chat from Tainanzi. First time I'm awake for your stream. Hello from Norway. Thank you. Hope you're having a good day. Thank you. I'm so happy to receive this love from Norway. Hi, everybody. Yes, this dress. When it showed up, I put it on and I was like, okay, it's entirely too much. I don't know why, but all of a sudden, wait, why is there somebody in the chat named Jake's Baby Cakes? Because, okay, literally dead ass, you guys. That is one of those words that I haven't called anybody baby cakes in a while, but that is one of those words that I use quite frequently or used to. And obviously you guys know about my Jake, but I'm sorry, I'm trying to get the mic closer to me. I'm hoping that this is good. But it's so weird. Oh, that made me look very big. I look like a movie star. Thank you. I'll tell you why I look like a movie star. But there was this man that I reached out to as a recruiter. If you didn't know, that is my day job, recruiting and marketing. I reached out to this man and his response was, check your email, doll. And I told my boss, I was like, this guy called me doll. I don't like that. Oh yeah, but where was I going with that? But he was just like, I'm so grateful for where I work, because even though it's mostly like a bunch of like men in their 40s, they're very progressive and are very just like cognizant of making sure that everybody's comfortable. And in this case, as soon as that happened, I was like, well, do you want to look at his portfolio? My boss was like, no, he's blacklisted. Like, he was like, what are you, in the mafia in the 50s? Like, what's he going to do next? Call you toots? And then I was like, yeah, I should have responded with something baby cakes. But yeah, totally rude. You guys can call me doll though, anytime. I just don't want to be called doll by men that could be my father on LinkedIn. We do love a supportive boss. I don't know why I'm feeling nauseated all of a sudden. I promise you guys, it's not what might be coming to your mind first, or whatever comes to my mom's mind whenever I say, Mom, I feel sick today. It's not that. I just started to feel really nauseated all of a sudden after I got dressed. But yeah, so on LinkedIn. Do you guys want stories? Stories from LinkedIn? Like, even though it's supposed to be a Jessi and Gabbie thing? Whatever, we're waiting for people to show up. I'm going to say this guy's name because I think he's a public figure at this point. There is a public figure, and his name is, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, which I think I am, Batiar World. Don't know how he ended up with the last name World, or if that was just chosen, but I don't even remember exactly everything that he said to me. There have been a couple of people that wanted to be like creepy on LinkedIn, and it's like, dude, this is like the one platform where you don't do that. Liz, thank you. Aw, thank you so much. You're so sweet. Yellow looks good on you. And he was like, there were a couple people. There's one guy who he's got a really like well-known account. A lot of people follow him because he posts just a lot of like puppies and kitties and stuff like that. And I have reached out to him to be like, thank you so much for like what you do for people during their workday. Because like the videos you post really just kind of like make my workday better. And he accepted that well, but then he proceeded to turn that into a conversation that I didn't want to have. He took that well when I was like, I'm not interested in this. I just wanted to say thank you. But this Batiar World guy, he looked like, if I could, like an off-brand DJ Khaled. And his specialty. He showed me something talked about his book. He had a book. And so I say that I have more donations. I'm going to pause now to notice them because I'll forget. Hashtag Water Gang. Thank you. You're going to be so good. Can we talk about the amount of gaslighting language Gabbie used on Jessi Smiles? It triggered panic attack for me. For sure. I'm so sorry that triggered a panic attack. Ugh. I would love to talk about everything that I talked about in my video. Oh, Neely. Okay. Later, Glinda. I love you. But yeah, so this guy has a book. He's like a public figure and he's got a book. And like his bio said, talked about how he's like an SEO specialist. And I think it was an SEO job that was the reason I reached out to him. I am no offense to any of you out there that work in SEO. But if you do, you probably know this is a thing. Be mindful when people say they work in SEO. Just like I'm in marketing, and marketing can mean a lot of things. Marketing can mean that you work for a company that makes you drive to any random Costco that day and stand at a kiosk. Yes, I've interviewed for that job, and I'm pretty sure that Gabbie has talked about actually doing that job. But yeah, this guy was like hitting on me in LinkedIn DMs, and I was just like, sir, like, no, thank you. I'm not interested. I'm in a relationship, and this is my platform where I go to be professional. And instead of just being like, oh, yep, I understand, bye, thanks, whatever, he was just like, okay, well, I'll connect with you later. I'm about to go get on a yacht with Dan Bilzerian. I was like, okay, bro, you do you. That was my first and most prolific creeper on LinkedIn. But what are the other things I was going to tell you? Why I look like this? Because, let me see. You can't stop looking at the fashion NCR 262. Well, I'm sorry to distract you from your workout. My hair was definitely had a lot more going on. I was ready for this an hour early, which never happens. Right? What a flex. We got a yacht with Dan Bilzerian. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Nina. So sorry, I'm seeing, just reading some of the chat. I think that this dress might actually be prettier in the back. I can't, because it's kind of open right here. And then like these straps, I really don't know what it's supposed to be doing. But Megan, thank you. Well, if you want to know why I look so hot, it is because I am editing my part 2. If you guys saw part 1 of this 2-parter, Jessi and Gabbie, A History of, I started editing part 2, and I'm trying to see. Part 2, I think, mentions something to do with my hate mob. And if you don't know about my hate mob, go watch any video of mine. But I had a couple of people in my Patreon send me screenshots from around that time to be like, hey, I don't know if this helps with what you're talking about. And then I kind of went down a rabbit hole looking for, I hadn't seen clips. That's what it was. I don't know if you guys know this. I feel fine talking about this now that because it's on the topic of Gabbie Hanna. Hi, anybody who's entering the chat or watching this in the playback. If you didn't know, this is a public live event in which I talk to my audience conversation style with tangents, and it's all kinds of disjointed. It is basically a podcast. I'm just not wearing headphones. So, that just reminded me the headphone jack is plugged in. Just aesthetically, I hate it. Pardon me. That might have been like my, do you ever get just like nausea because there's just like bad air in your stomach and you're just like, what's going on? What did I do? What air did I swallow? Okay, well, Leaf, I wasn't going to say who was doing what, but okay, it was Leaf, everybody. go bully Leaf. Don't do that. Don't bully anyone. Yeah, Leaf was sending me clips because they were asking me basically like, because you're going to talk about this thing. Do you want any clips from the live stream from your hate mob, the live stream that prompted the hate mob? And if you didn't know, I've actually never watched. It was 2 live streams, but I consider it just one long live stream because why not? But Lola Bunny 85 leads me to believe. Do you hail from 1985? Because that's where I hail from. Some Gabbie Hanna, Leaf. Add that to that one. Now, how has an inappropriate content warning? Interesting. It's an IBS thing. It's like, I don't know. I had ginger and Gabbie Hanna. I have ginger capsules, or I did at some point, that used to do like work wonders, but yeah. So Gabbie Hanky, you guys. So what was I saying? So I had never actually watched the live streams in their entirety. I have seen, of course, bits and pieces because you've seen me put them in primarily the video where I talked about what actually happened. Oh, I'm so rude. Pardon me. Because dear friend just became a patron. So thank you, dear friend. It's spelled DEER. Yeah, our Patreon is growing so much, you guys. That's so exciting. Like, let me just take a moment. I'm all over the place. I'm not going to chalk it up to anything. I get excited and I go on a lot of tangents. Not that I should be comparing numbers, but I can't help it. When it's your own bully, sometimes you can't help it, And when that bully tries to make you feel like you're nobody, and that bully likes to compare their numbers to everybody, sometimes you can't help but notice that Gabbie Hanna has 500 patrons, and now you're up to 338 patrons. And that just makes me, surely, like, my patrons don't pay nearly as much as Gabbie, and I definitely am far more present, but that just speaks to the kind of community that we're growing here. So I love it. Karis Worsham says, going to go back to watch from the beginning, just popping in to send some love. Always appreciate your perspective. Hey, Karis, when you catch up to this, we really haven't even started. So totally up to you, but you can jump ahead to the very beginning and get live with us. That could be fun. Now everybody's sharing their birth years. Why not? Why not share our ages? That's fun. That's a fun conversation. Yeah. So I never watched the live streams. If you can only imagine or try to imagine what it felt like that day, to find out for people to be like, hey, I think Gabbie's online talking about you right now, which had already happened. Let me tell you about that too. Brandy, you look stunning tonight. Thank you. So fancy. I like to be fancy sometimes. Thank you for continuing to call it disgusting behavior. We need more people like you in the world. Thank you, Brandy. We need more people like you. You've been just consistently sweet, like for the longest time. I've noticed you around. What was I saying? There were a few things I wanted to flex on Gabbie Hanna. Yeah, that day. If you can only try to imagine, Liz, thank you. Yes, my little community is the best. Maybe I didn't brag about it the best way, but I just say what I think. I do love the people here. If you can try to imagine what that felt like that day, just imagine, like, a lot of us, I think, are adjusted to a good extent to quarantine, especially because, like, in a lot of places, the world has started to open up. But imagine being, when did it start? March, April, May, June, 3 months into quarantine. Do you remember when the crazy would set in for everybody, and we were all like anxious all the time, and we didn't know why? Well, because we were lacking human interaction, and we were going stir crazy in our homes, and also had just anxiety about the state of the world and wondering if, is this the end of the world? So imagine just that. Imagine me being somebody living alone in a tiny ass apartment in a city that already is like kind of like at times scary. especially under the presidency that, that we were under. And when people were like, hey, I think Gabbie's talking about you on a live stream, I was like, oh God, because of course I had just talked to her and she was at the gym, but she ran home to do the thing. And of course, like I clicked and then I was like, I can't watch this. Like I can't, like I was sobbing and panicking. I was like, I can't do this. So I immediately clicked off and then just talked to some of my online, but if you guys probably saw the live stream more recently, but I talked to Jake, I talked to my mom. They tried their best to be supportive and all that, but they didn't know anything about this world. So the best that thank you, Mindy. The best that Jake could do was just be like, I love you. Don't let her get, like this, don't let this get to you, which like, I get why, like I'm sure I say that sometimes too, but like, I can't help these emotions, bro. And then my mom is just like, are you sure this online stuff is worth it? And I'm like, Mom, you don't get it. So I talked to a lot of my patrons is really what happened, was that I got on live stream with them and just to get through those moments. So that's what happened the day of the hate mob. So when Leaf was like, hey, are there any clips that you would like to go with that segment of your next video? I was just like, well, I don't know. Like I was planning on just using like maybe a still, but perhaps a video could do. And actually a video clip that Leaf found is helpful, I think. But I hadn't seen it before. And there were other parts I hadn't seen before. And I'll just go ahead and for the 993 of you here, like I'll just go ahead and tell you ahead of time. You guys already know what my videos are going to be about. The next video is coming up, though everybody else did. But I'll just let you guys know with this one point, I don't know how much I talked about this, but one thing that I pointed out in this upcoming video was something that Leaf, if you were the one looking into this video, which part of Gabbie's million-part series was it that she had the list of like five traits of narcissistic abuse? It was like, I don't know if it was Trisha Paytas or Drama Channels or what. Sounds like Jake is home, and I don't know if he knows that BAP was pushed back to tonight. So yeah, so where was I with this? The point that I brought up was that Gabbie flashes these behaviors on the screen, right? This is something that so-and-so did to me. This is something that they did to me. And this is something they did to me, checking off like all the boxes of narcissistic abuse. And one of them was number 3, preemptive strike. Now, surely if you've ever like made a preemptive strike does not make you a narcissist, for sure. But I find it ironic that she's pointing that out in other people when she does that to everybody, but she definitely did it to me. And she's even said like, this was a preemptive measure, a preemptive move. She said that about Richie. She's said this stuff before. And that especially I thought was disgusting of her, because I'm like, really? You're going to go call out anybody else for making a preemptive strike? Really? Has it been over 2 minutes? It's been 18 minutes. Fuck you. Oh, Just a Journalist is here. I hope you heard, Taylor, that I shouted out your channel. Taylor's got an awesome channel. So yeah. So I was going to talk about I know I hate it. You hate what? I'm not in on this conversation. Chapter 5, part 1. I didn't even timestamp Leave. I was just wondering which part it was, like who she was talking about. You're over helpful. That's why I'm laughing, because I love you so much. Like Leaf is like the sweetheart of the Patreon right now. Lexi says, 1, your dress is stunning. Thank you. 2, glad I finally made your live stream. I'm glad you did too. I was hoping that by switching the days around every now and then, it's going to happen, that maybe it would allow other people who don't normally, I don't know if that's the case with you, but don't normally aren't normally able to make it perhaps they can on Wednesdays. Show with no name says, make a video saying reacting to Gabbie's abusive live for the first time. Whew, and say, no, I need Gabbie to text me back. It's a necessity. Otherwise, there's no point in being alive. Whew. The first half of that, I was like, you know, it might be a good idea, but I would like, you know how people do like reading mean comments, but they have their friends there, and then Gabbie did the like watching mean TikToks about me that my patrons picked out for curated the playlist for, and like these are my friends. So yeah, that's kind of a funny idea. I thought about, okay, just a million side notes. Showed no name. It's funny you say that because I wondered, is it too obsessive or does it look bad or is it just too much if I were to do my own video where I go back and I not only read you guys all of our text messages in my tone with my context, but also give you guys just a full screen recording of the whole damn thing. And I wondered, I was like, I know people would watch that, but is that a bad look? And then I swear I went into my phone looking for my text with Gabbie. They're all gone. Don't know how. I must have like, you know, swiped to the trash can. At one point I wondered if it was because it's been a little over a year. Maybe my phone wiped a year-long text messages, but has never happened with anyone else. So that's not happening because I don't have the texts. I could react to the videos. The only thing is that I hate using this word for myself, but it's triggering for me. You know what I should do if I'm able to, 50K is not going to be the landmark for this because that's going to be soon. Mattia Turen says it's a sign from the universe. Exactly. No, that's exactly how he took it. Thank you. I took that as like, I was like, okay, God, got the message loud and clear. You don't want me to do this. And that's good because it's, you know, it answered my question. And although just like Ashley, I like to have receipts too, but it's good not to have those to obsess over. But I was just going to say, thank you, Moonchild. You're just so sweet. I love the little cat you sent. Perhaps if I were able to get together with like Ashley and Amberin, even though we're all in very different parts of the world, or at least different parts of the Northern Hemisphere, I would be able to get through that. But I just, maybe we could do a girl man's podcast with the three of us, but I don't know, dude. That scares me. And that's where I was going with that, was that the clip that Leaf showed me. So we were talking about a preemptive strike, right? That kind of behavior. And Leaf showed me a clip, exactly the clip where Gabbie says, I am doing this because she said she's going to expose me. And I'm so sick of, like, even a year later, nobody's really saying it anymore, but I'm just like, I'm still sick of the fact that how many people were saying that I said I was going to expose Gabbie. Also, like, this, every time I put my arms up, these sleeves go up. Question, how mindless is the internet? Because like I talk to a lot of you guys and you guys actually have minds. And like we talk about receipts. You guys typically like rely on receipts when an accusation is made, and that's fair, right? If you're going to accuse somebody of something nefarious, especially, back it up with something, right? And to say she said she's going to make an exposed video on me when you're reading the text messages. It doesn't say that anywhere. Alistair, your phone know to delete trash. Wish YouTube did. Damn, Alistair, that was maybe your best zinger yet. I like that. But yeah, she said, just so you know why I'm doing this. I probably should have said this before, but I'm doing this because she said she was going to make a video exposing me. I literally never even said I was going to make a video. What I said was, and you can go back, I actually flashed a screenshot of one big, like, you know, not my last text message, but my last long text message to her. And in it, I said at the top, I was just like so kind. And I was just like, I am so kind to Gabbie Hanna. I said something like, that stuff started to bother me more. And then I started to see things that were going on Twitter. And then I was continuing to make me feel bad. And I realized that this bothers me. And I don't like, I'd like to close this line of communication, but also I do feel like I need to explain this to my subscribers because I've been hot and cold, quiet, and now probably going to go back to hot, if I'm being honest about you. And I do think that I'd like to explain to them why. Did not say anything about like I'm gonna expose you. Oh, I'm gonna lay all your shit bare. I didn't say any of that. I was just like, I need to explain to my subscribers why this. And that wasn't necessarily going to be in a video. Probably was going to be a video. Let's be real. But it might have been a community tab post. I hadn't decided yet. And that's all I said. And then right after that, I was like, I'm still going to wish for fair treatment for you. I still, I hope this stuff with YouTube gets sorted out. I still do not support anybody mocking your mental health. Like, I still stand by those things. I wish you well. But I'd just like to close this line of communication. That she took to mean that I'm going to expose her, so she made a preemptive strike. Cosmos Complete says, look, as gullible as I am, I always make sure there's proof before I disavow someone. What people on the internet lie? Sarcastic. Morgan says, so happy I'm able to catch the VIP this week. Me too. Thank you, guys. And also, Mur says, OMG, Leash, check your Discord DMs whenever you can. I noticed something in one of your Gabbie Hanna videos that's super relevant today, by the way. You look stunning. Thank you. I'm just going to go ahead and take a stab at this. Since you paid me a donation, I'm going to check this out. And I trust that whatever this is safe to be read on BAP. It says, I was rewatching your video about the whole Gabbie Hanna and Rachel thing, and you mentioned something that's super relevant today. You called her out for lying about the texts with Alex James, even though she literally put them on her video. She did the exact same thing with Jessi's text, accusing her of blackmail, but adding the screenshots of the conversation where she was, in fact, not blackmailing Gabbie Hanna at all. I wanted to point it out because you literally called this exact behavior months ago. Great job. Thank you. Interesting. I'll have to go back and look at that. I don't know if it's too late to add that to this video, but people know now. Thank you for pointing that out. Who's texting me? Also, I should say Jen Dent and Jake are texting me. I also should say that I was like a minute late because I saw that Rachel Oates had left me she left me a comment. Did she leave me a comment? She left me a comment, and then I left her a comment, and then she left me a reply, and I was like, oh, Rachel, I can be a minute late for you. What was I saying? Yeah, so that was the whole thing, was that it's such a really difficult place. I think especially, I don't know if this is like, I know some people are very like into like astrology, and they're like, oh, it's because I'm this sign or blah, 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 that I am this way. But I do think genuinely, if you're into Myers-Briggs, I think this is a judger quality because and I'm not high in judging. I've actually tested perceiving once. If that means nothing to you, essentially a judger is somebody who does value order, justice, etc. And I think being a judger, it's really, really hard to sit back and to watch things be unfair, to see people and yourself be unfairly treated. And honestly, I think that's the case with a lot of conflict, especially in like communities. I think there's total tangent again. I think that there might be a lot of conflict because you have like judgers and perceivers in the same room. And every now and then, I'm just going to go ahead and fucking call it. In my community, that judger is Nayli. And you guys know that because if you follow Nayli on Twitter, if you don't, you should. But if you do follow her, you see that she'll post threads and she'll just, lay it all out. Cats with Sass says, do you have any regrets about being friends with Gabbie last summer? Or are you just glad that it helps to explain and give evidence to her behavior? That's a really good question. Nobody's ever asked me. So thank you. I'm going to be that annoying person that says I live with no regrets. And I do, because at the very least, it's easy to feel that way when you're in a good place in life. And especially with me. Yeah, anyway, No, I have no regrets about that. In the end, once I started to come to grips with like what was happening with the hate mob, I was like, especially with the help of, I'm going to go ahead and say, I don't know if he watches my videos anymore, but Matt was very helpful. Matt Z was very helpful. And a lot of my patrons were helpful, but Matt was really the one to be like, honestly, like if you keep your cool through this might just even help your channel. And people are going to believe you as long as you keep your cool and tell your story and just tell it factually. So Dr. Thembo, I'm bookmarking you. There's no regret to have because I think that I didn't know what I didn't know. I can be a harsh critic, but I wish that Amber and Nayli and all them were in the room right now to tell you that I am the first to be overly trusting of people and to give people the benefit of the doubt. So even though I had all these complaints about Gabbie Hanna in general, I still wanted to give her a chance. And she started, and also I'm one of those people that like, I'm great with compliments and all of that, but when it comes to apologies, I don't know how to act. If you apologize to me, then I kiss the ground you walk on, and I shouldn't be that way. It's something I need to work on, and I am. But not that Gabbie didn't apologize to me. But if you're mean to me and then you're nice to me, it's easy for me to be like, okay, this person's being nice. So, I did go through the period between the phone call and the text where I was just like, I don't know how I feel about all this. But because she was so nice to me over text, and because I was a fan, I was like, okay, like it makes sense that like I would chat with this girl and that we would get along. And I think Gabbie Hanna is so entertaining when she's being nice. The problem is disagree with her even a little bit and you're over. She will make your life a living hell, at least for a time. And I'm realizing, obviously, with my reaction today, that I still have trauma around that. And that's the part that, in a sense, I regret, just because I hate how it still makes me feel today to read those things. And so I'm going to, Liz, of course you're an INFJ. We've talked about this. A lot of my viewers, I think, are INFJs because ENFJs make good best friends to INFJs, which I love that so much. I'm going to finish telling whatever story I was telling. I don't even remember now. Judgers, fairness. Dr. Thembo says, message late but was away from the phone. The note about preemptive strike gave such clarity regarding the abhorrent treatment inflicted by my partner's ex upon the two of us. Always knew they were insecure as fuck. Yeah, it's an interesting thing to note. It's really interesting that it was Gabbie Hanna that noted it, Oh yeah, I was explaining why I'm dressed up. Did I miss any? I don't think I missed any super chats. So, where was I? So, Leaf showed me this clip that said, I'm doing this because she said she was going to expose me. And what I wanted to do, and one of the things, and I really hate this, and I'm glad that I was able to make this point pretty succinctly in my last video. I don't know if it's going to come up in my next video, but I did make a point that, like, something about Twitter, just about how Gabbie Hanna, gets so hung up on, we've talked about this a lot, on technicalities, on verbiage, and etc. And I was just calling her out and being like, the reason people are frustrated with you is because we're talking about a sentiment that you're not owning up to these sentiments. So you can catch, if you get just like a participle wrong or something like that, she'll be like, nope, that didn't happen. I didn't say that. When in fact she really did, So I wondered, like, she said that I said I was going to expose her. And I was like, I really don't think I said that. I really don't think I said anything like that. But, and the other thing too is, like, if I don't say your name publicly, then you have nothing, you can't, you out yourself. That's it. She told me a lot. Is that I started tweeting about it. I didn't need to start tweeting about it. It's because I tweeted about it. I put up a little notepad, not an apology, but just a notepad note up and shared some of those DMs with Jim. And I was going to look back to see if there was anything I said that day that could be in any way construed as I'm going to expose Gabbie in a video. And I asked, thanks to Meigs. Meigs is really good because I was trying to like use the search function and all that. And Meigs was like, these are the only things that you tweeted that day around that time. There was nothing else. And it was really just like, hey guys, I'm aware that Gabbie is live streaming about me right now. This is really difficult. I'm going to gather myself before I tell my side of the story. Just please trust that like these things, like I didn't do anything wrong. I would have to double check to see what I actually said. But then in searching for those tweets, I was seeing people talk over a year ago. And like even one person, I noticed, I almost responded and I was like, don't, this is a year old, leave it alone. I noticed there was a thread. And of course, sometimes you start at the bottom of the thread and you're like, wait, what are they talking to? What are they responding to? And like this one person said something like, da, 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 da. I'm sure that Alicia's a good person. So I'm sure she doesn't mean to blah, 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 blah. And so I was like, okay, so this person at least is like somewhat reasonable about like how good I am, but then I scroll up to the top and his primary first tweet or reply was something like, well, you were the one who said that you were going to make an exposed video, so you started this, shut up. And I'm like, shut up. How is it that you can talk about people like being good or starting this or that and think it's okay to tell people to shut up? That was messed up. But it's just that kind of brings me back to the question of like, how is it that and I guess it's just like at the time people were fans of Gabbie Hanna and her friends, right? So it's easy to believe somebody without receipts. But like how is it so easy for the internet just to buy this bullshit with absolutely nothing to back up? Especially when Gabbie and I provided you the receipts ourselves. What? I mean, of course, I didn't see a ton of that after the 20th, which is when I put out my video. But I was a little bit sad to see that there was like at least one person in there that like at times that like has been nice to me. And I'm not saying any names, but like I almost arranged a meet and greet because that person was nearby. And it's just, I got to be honest with you guys that played both sides. Like, I appreciate it when you're nice, but sometimes, like, when you get it wrong, you get it really wrong sometimes. That's all I'll say is when you just try to, play two sides with like opposing factions. Colin says she talks a lot about assuming she's talking about you when she does the same all the time, everywhere, all the time. Huh? You look great, by the way. Thank you. Is that just what a yellow heart looks like on the blue flag or whatever? Interesting. It's funny because there was actually only one time that I firmly believe Gabbie Hanna was talking about me, where she claims that people think I'm talking about that. Of course, and then she won't name my name when she says that. Of course, somebody's narcissistic enough to think that it was about them. But like, I can't prove that it was about me, but I can prove that she was lying about what she was talking about because she was like, it was about Frey Brittany, obviously. And then somebody was like, okay, then why is it that the first comment on that tweet was something like, they're just jealous because they'll never have the success that you have. This is while I was like, it was like my first BAP or something like that. And so we were talking about Gabbie Hanna. That's right. It was one of the first BAPs. We were talking about Gabbie. I think it was BAP. It was a live something. No, BAP started here. This was in DC. I don't remember what sparked it, but she tweeted something like, I wish I could harass people the way they harass me. And I was like, we're not fucking harassing you, bitch. Sorry. But that was proverbial bitch, colloquial bitch. She was like, I wish I could harass them the way. Oh, but my audience doesn't care about them nearly as much as their audience cares about me. And I'm like, if this is about me, oh, wow, I've never heard anything more untrue in my life. Your audience cares about me more than they care about you. But then, and I tweeted something like that, and then she was like, that was about Free Britney, but surely someone is narcissistic enough to think that it's about them. Funny thing is that we have a whole chapter dedicated to subtweets in this next video. But yeah, she said it was about Free Britney, but the first comment was, they're just jealous because they'll never have the success you have. And Gabbie's response was, I know, LOL. So tell me, please, tell me, fan who said that, Gabbie stands, anybody here, because let me see, do I have any dislikes? Oh, I can't see that yet. But Camille Chippewa, we've got a Chippewa Square here in Savannah. It's the Forest Dump Square. Yeah, please tell me in what context, for one, when you're like, oh, I wish that I could harass them the way they harass me. Please tell me that when you're talking about a Free Britney, when you're making a Free Britney tweet, when is it appropriate that the response is, yeah, people are just jealous because they'll never be as successful as you? I know, right? Like, what? Also, define success, because I would argue that I'm far more successful than you. 7 dislikes according to your screen. Come on, Stans, let us know. Come on, I got a lot of questions. And there's part of me that wants to be like, Stan, like one of you Stans, if you're just willing to explain things to me, or Gabbie Hanna herself, somebody explain to me, where did I say that I was going to expose you? Where is it that anybody said anything about exposing you that you guys are buying so freely? So that was all to say. It was really upsetting to go back and read a lot of those tweets. Of course, we saw this with Creepshow Art, that before I made my video, a lot of people, well, even Creepshow was going on after I made my video. Before I made my video, of course, people didn't know what to believe because they only heard what Gabbie was saying. So I have to grant the general audience some clemency from, the time before I put out my video. But it was still hard. It was still really hard to see all of those people saying like, well, Hella Leash deserves it because she threatened to expose, she threatened to expose, she threatened to expose. I found that so many times. So that's when I was like, motherfuckers, I am going to find the most over the top thing that I have, like, not in my closet in general, but I have like a cache of like clothes that I've bought for BAPs that I haven't worn yet. So I was like, I'm going to go with the one that's like the most, and that's, that took me 42 minutes to explain why I'm wearing this dress. 3 more people literally disliked. That's fine. That's fine. They can interact and give me the engagement. I mentioned the stand, so they give me just don't leave any comments, Stans, because you know what that's going to do. It's going to up my engagement. But thank you for being here, because you can't undo a like. You can't undo you can't undo a view, especially on a live stream, because you can't. So thank you, Taylor. I just saw your message. Of course you're eating steak, Jack. #WaterGang. I wonder if there are other people. Thank you, Sylvia. I wonder if there are other people in the audience who genuinely, like, I don't know if I'm superstitious just a little bit, or if I'm just like, I need to stick to what I perceive as promises. But like, whenever anybody says #WaterGang, I always take a sip of water, no matter what. And I'm wondering if there's anybody else out there who does the same. I've got some TMJ pain too. The mostiest, Jake's Baby Cake says, your name should be my name. That should be my name. Can we share that one? I need to pull up the emails that I wanted to read that I wasn't able to get to last week. And then also I got a really interesting DM that, in fact, I might want to read that one first. I've noticed that a lot of you guys are kind of entering what we call in my Patreon hashtag. No thanks. We call it hashtag Speculation Nation. Wait, I've got another notification. Hey guys, are you tagging me in something? Is there something that I missed? Just so you guys know, anytime. Oh, it's just Brie telling me that my thumbnail looks amazing. Thank you. Just know that. Okay. Anyway, you always sip, Christina. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you, Gardial. It's okay. I already saw it leave. I've noticed that. So in our Patreon, like we make it a point to point out when we're like speculating about stuff, just like I do in my videos. And we go like, okay, speculation nation here. And I've noticed that I've been getting some emails that are very much like the audience kind of entering speculation nation. And it's really interesting. It's really interesting to hear people's theories on why certain people are behaving in certain ways, but they're like theories that we haven't heard. You keep hearing the same canned things from every, like, I don't want to rag on my fellow commentary tea and drama channels, but sometimes, you can only watch so many of them before you're hearing the same stuff over and over again. So that's why I do like the theories and the speculations, as long as we don't go too far with them. And I've been getting emails where people really just kind of like tell me what their theories are on different things. This wasn't a theory. This one was more of an observation. And I think it really deserves to be noted. So somebody named Deb on Twitter reached out to me. I'm going to read her DMs about this situation. So she said, "Hello, I've been a subscriber for a bit now. I love the way you speak. I know DMs isn't the way to read to message you, just so you guys know." Yeah, because I rarely open a DM. But this is something I just wanted to say, even if it's to the void. This is something that bothered me the most. I don't know if you spoke about this in your last BAP. I still haven't managed to catch up. So much has happened. But in Gabbie's video on Jessi, the one thing that bothered me the most to my core was not even what she said. It's the way she said it. And she goes on to say, "The kindness and softness with which she spoke about Curtis disturbed me the most. It was just so nice. The tone, her affliction, you mean affection, I think maybe, her body language, the words she chose. How can anyone be so polite and nice when talking about an assailant? That freaked me out the most. Sorry for dumping my feelings on you, but that disturbed me the most, the softness in her voice when talking about an R-wordist. Anyway, love your videos. Wishing the best for you." Thank you, Deb. I love you back. I mean, you love my videos. You didn't say you love me, but still, me and my videos, we love you. And also, I saw Estefania. Thank you for the sticker, Estefania. And RC Boxley, how does Jessi feel about you talking about their complicated relationship? As far as I know, Jessie's fine. I mean, Jessi knows that people are going to talk about this. Jessi and I were talking about this well before Jessi released her video. I don't get upset when people say things like, "Stop talking about this, let Jessi blah blah blah." I don't hold it against anyone for looking out for Jessi, right? Because she probably, more than anybody in this situation, deserves to be looked out for. She is. Like, her and arguably the baby in her belly is the most important, right? So it's a sentiment that does not bother me at all. But keep in mind that, Jessi and I are not best friends, but we're friends enough to where, like, we text each other on a semi-regular basis. And I'm definitely reaching out to her when I'm making a video that mentions her. And if she's putting out a video that's relative to YouTube stuff and she's feeling a certain way, she reaches out to get my opinion on these things. So just roll with the assumption, because I'm telling you now, so it's not an assumption anymore, but roll with the assumption each time that I've talked to Jessi about these things. And I will say that Jessi, Jen, and Alex all expressed to me that they really enjoyed my video last night. Monday. And so I really appreciated that. Oh, I see where Taylor said that, well, this is when she's talking about blackmail. And then she's like, yeah. And she's just like, "It's not like I'm saying do this or else I'm going to do this." And she's like, "Well, actually, that's what it is." So, like, you are as horrible as you're trying to make yourself not sound. Also, just like, one of the things I'm so glad I pointed out. I'm so glad that Jessi pointed out, which the editing gives me the impression that it might have been something that Lily noticed. But how Jessi put in her video, Gabbie on her live stream where she's like that live stream where she's just on her knees on her bed, saying like, like scroll and see where I start drama. And then she says that people started a rumor that that Gabbie Hanna defended her best friend's R-wordist, left her best friend for her R-wordist. And it's like, I caught did you catch a correction there? Because I heard that. I wonder if anybody else noticed. Oh yeah, RC, sorry about that. If it wasn't clear, that I do thank you. Maybe it's honestly because I didn't thank you that it probably was unclear that I was addressing what you were saying. I appreciate your super chat, and yeah, the whole part where I was talking about me and Jessi being friends and actually talking about these videos, her videos and mine. She doesn't consult me with every video, but when it is something that might be a commentary piece, she does sometimes ask my opinion, and when it is going to be something about her, I talk to her about it. So to answer your question, you have to rewind, or go back and watch it later. I wouldn't want you to get caught behind. So yeah, let's see what other emails I have while I have a moment, because last time you guys were really, and I'm not complaining, super chat happy. And I think everybody was just really fired up about this topic, that I didn't get to any emails that I received. Oh no, that's not the email I meant to open. Okay. And of course, I've received a few more emails here and there regarding Gabbie and Jessi, but this is just what I had collected up until last week's BAP. October says Gabbie did all this because Jessi decided not to be friends anymore. Imagine breaking off a friendship and the person does this to you. October, thank you for pointing that out. And maybe I don't know how to you guys the emails are, and we'll get to them, but the other thing too is like we were talking about speculation nation. Now you just kind of got some of the cogs turning. One person said, I want to get back to what you said. One person said, I wonder if Gabbie, I don't know if I shared this with you guys. I thought it was really super interesting because Trisha has expressed that they have BPD. This person said something like, I think I did say it in my video. Was that coming in my next video? I don't know. If so, you guys get a preview. This person said something along the lines of, I think because Trisha has expressed that they have BPD, that Gabbie may be projecting her mommy issues onto Trisha, and that might explain why it's so important to her that Trisha accept her and admit that they were friends at least at one point, because it might be like a mommy thing. Jean says, did anyone else feel what Gabbie Hanna was wearing in her Jessi Exposed video was so weirdly inappropriate because her bra, when we're talking about yeah, I will say I thought it was a cute outfit. I do think that she needs to, the one before that where she had to keep putting the filter over her, sorry, it's the mom in me. It is my mom existing through me, that the way my mom, if I'm ever adjusting my clothes in public, my mom, or if anybody is adjusting their clothes, my mom would be like, why don't you just wear shorts that fit you, so that's kind of the thought I had, is if you have to keep putting a filter over your chest, then maybe you should wear a full shirt. I thought about that. Tisha Licious said, got my child tax credit today, so spreading the money. Hey, thank you. So going back to what October said about, there was another theory that somebody said that they think that Jessi, that Gabbie displayed the behavior of an R-word apologist, right? We've established that in 2014, or right when the TMZ article broke. She behaved in an R-word apologist way, then apologized to Jessi, and Jessi forgave her. And this person theorized that because the rest of the internet did not forgive Gabbie, particularly when they had a falling out, because then, at one point you can at least be like, okay, I'm forgiving you because Jessi did. But then it's like, if you're not friends with Jessi and you're talking shit about Jessi, then like, I don't need to forgive you for what you did. Or I can still recognize you as an R-word apologist. And so this person was basically saying that they think that this fight with Jessi is less about their friendship or their relationship, whatever kind of relationship they have, and more about her wanting Jessi to scrub her image for her, because that apology that she gave Jessi did not do away with all of the R-word apology, talk around Gabbie's name. So I thought that was a really interesting theory. And October, what you noticed, I did too. I realized that, holy shit, what is the one thing that I'm noticing is a trend in a lot of these situations, right? She believed she was friends with Trisha Paytas, and Trisha said, we are not. I didn't realize that it wasn't a fight that ended their friendship. It was Jessi that ended their friendship with Gabbie. It wasn't that Gabbie and I got into a fight and then blocked each other. I said, Gabbie, I don't want to talk to you anymore. And I think that this girl I think she gets rejected a lot. And I'm sure that is a really, really shitty feeling. I've heard Dr. Kirk talk about just the sense of anxiety that it gives a normal person. I say normal person, meaning like if you don't have any disorders that might contribute more to this. I try not to use that word. But just your average person, because, we evolved from, and we're still kind of tribe animals, but because we rely on tribes, on our people, right? We take care of each other. That's what we're meant to do. And I think that that's why we foster such a sense of community around here. And we love it so much, is because we look out for each other. So the sense of being rejected goes back to our primal feeling of, this means I'm going to die. It's like the same mechanism in your brain. And if there are any mental health professionals in the audience, please tell me if I'm right or wrong. But that made a lot of sense to me. And so to think that for somebody that may have personality disorders or traits or any other disorders that might amplify that feeling, that could make a lot of sense as to why Gabbie behaves the way she does. It's just that, like, girl, you're making it so much worse. You're making it so much worse. The way you behave every time somebody rejects you is just making more people want to reject you. And I think that this is all just even further confirmed by what other people are coming out with Gabbie's series that is not going, I think, how she thought it would go. So with like Joey Graceffa and Daniel Prada coming forward to say, okay, now that Gabbie's brought up the whole escape the night thing, the thing that we were keeping under wraps that nobody was talking about, now people are coming forward and saying like, nope, we asked you to leave, like blah, 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 goodbye. So I wonder like if that's causing her to just act out in the worst of ways. And it's like, Gabbie, I really do. Like, I'm going back to my feelings of like wanting better for you. Gabbie, it doesn't need to be this way. Like, I dislike you so much, but there's part of me that cares about Gabbie, that I want to be like, Gabbie, it doesn't need to be this way. And that's what I predicated my whole channel on, was just this like want. My first video that went big for me relative to my channel size. I saw a girl that I liked and I wanted better for, and she was fucking up, and that's where this all came from. Bianca, I had you. Bianca says, currency conversion hurts. Love your videos. Thank you, because I'm over here like, is that Russian? I have no idea how much that is, but thank you. Say Jack. Brittany's been approved to hire her own lawyer. What up? Like, why was that ever not a thing? That's so dumb. That's awesome. Thank you for making that announcement. Thank you for paying to be our headlines. And Lindsay Melissa just made a donation just because. Thank you. I appreciate that. I also appreciate SS saying the wild thing about Gabbie Hanna. And honestly, a lot of online personalities, this is all they have to say is, I messed up and I'm sorry. And it'd end there. Yes. What was the one thing more recently where it was just like, she just could not say, I messed up and let it be. I'm wondering if it's the whole, teenager in the video thing. I wonder if it was that. Like why she can't just be like, yeah, I made a mistake. Guys, can we move on from it? Because I don't think anybody cared to go on and on about that. And Sajak made a really good point because Gabbie, for going back to that story, Gabbie, she just hates drama channels because they talk about her and make really good, important points about her. And she was trying to find, I think, any sort of cop out to get back at drama channels. And so I think she used a mourning mother. I think she manipulated a mourning mother to get on her and got on her good side when she needed to make an apology, and it needed to end there. She really shouldn't have, in my opinion, reached out personally to her. But if the mom appreciates that, great. But it really should have started and ended with, hey, I made a big mistake and I am so sorry for it. And this is what I'm doing to rectify it. Done. The reason drama channels talked about it is because for 2 or 3 weeks, that shit just stayed up on the internet. And we're like, this is not okay. You just like casually had this article about this really serious matter. And now people are going to go looking for this. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? So like, no, that's not on drama channels. Now I'm just ranting. YouTube viewer says, Gabbie Hanna says her and Curtis weren't friends, but they hung out and talked a lot. Gabbie Hanna fights hard about being friends with Trisha, but they never actually hung out. I think that Gabbie is or was much closer to Curtis than she's let on. I don't know that for a fact. It's speculation nation. Maddie says, I love your nail. Cool colors. Thank you guys. I keep saying, please tell Ohora Vanity Table that I need a sponsorship, because every week I come. Actually, these are the nails that I had in my 2 videos, my 2 most recent videos, or like the one that I put out and then the one coming up. But it's actually those that company where it's the gel strips that you cure with the little UV light. I couldn't do jamberries when that was a thing, because if you can see, my nails are very curved. In the jamberry world, they call them baseball fingernails, or baseball method, or something like that. Hey, Logan. Can't stay, but just wanted to say I think you're pretty great and look very fancy today. Okay, bite. Thank you, Logan. Logan's one of my new favorites. I said I had a really hard time typing in Discord last night. I was messing up left and right while I was getting roasted by my patrons. And so I was like, bye. But then I typed it BYT. Bye. Thank you for saying I look fancy. It's fun to be fancy every now and then. And I think people don't do it enough because people are afraid to come across as like ostentatious or just silly, or like, or maybe because people just don't like or are not the best at handling attention. But I really think, first of all, I got this from my dad. Absolutely. My dad, maybe one of these days I'll share photos of him, but just the way that he dresses, and he goes through different phases. He used to go through phases where he wore a suit everywhere. He was Barney Stinson. He wore a white suit to take us to the zoo. He wore a suit when he came to help me move, when I was moving from one apartment to another. And then he wanted to do Victorian suits. And I said, okay, I worked at Trunk Club, and I was like, I'll make you a Victorian suit if you'll let me make you like a very like 1940s outfit. So I made him an outfit with like high-waisted wide leg pants with like a looser shirt with like a big lapel. And I don't know how his Victorian suit turned out. But that now he's totally in his like fancy cowboy phase. He's living in Colorado and skiing every day, and he wears like a duster with a cowboy hat while he skis every day. And this is my dad, guys. So my dad has always been one for like, he's always had a flair for fashion. He's never really cared what anybody else thinks. That's what I love about my dad, and that's where I think I get that from. But he's a Marine. He's a retired Marine. So just imagine the kind of hell that he gets from the people he works with, like retired Marines. I've heard them talk to him, and they're just like, they'll say things that are very offensive that I'm not going to repeat, but they just like will make fun of him for being like fancy and ostentatious. And I'm just like, and he just does his thing. My dad's social skills are like not average, and I love him for it so much. He's such an entertaining and interesting person. Lindsay Melissa said, neurotypical is the language you're looking for from before, LOL. Thank you. I wasn't sure if that also, though, I wasn't sure that the whole rejection thing and the amplification of those feelings was necessarily specific to neurology, or if that could be a psychology thing. It's so difficult. But thank you for that too. Love That Dirty Water says that awkward moment, your tweet calling Curtis Lepore's statement out for lies so badly ratios it ends up deleting it. P.S. Not sorry about it. Wait, were you the one that well, he was deleting a lot of his tweets. I do remember I left a comment on, I didn't ratio him, but I did leave a comment. And then I noticed, like, when I go back and like look at the updates, I saw that it was deleted. And then I posted a compilation of Tommy Wiseau laughing, going, oh my God, you guys, the first time I uploaded it, what I did was I found a compilation on YouTube, and I just like took the link and I just like did that as my reaction. And then I was showing Jake, I was like, look at this fire response. And he was like, and we were laughing along with it. And the last second of that compilation was the scene in the room where he puts the gun in his mouth. And I was like, oh my God, I just tweeted that. So I deleted it right away and I uploaded without that part. And that's just a little anecdote for y'all. Let me read another email. Asked me to take care of her. Wait, mine was that reached 1,000 likes that prompted his freaking out in the first place in all caps. She didn't ask me to take care of her. Oh, I don't know if I know exactly. To be fair, I see some new patrons coming in, you guys. I'm not sure what I said that prompted that, but I'm so excited to meet all you guys or to get to know you better. We've had just 1, 2, 3, 4, I think 5 people since this started. Yeah, I thankfully kind of like just, sometimes when you naturally like drift away from Twitter, sometimes maybe I was having too much fun with my life. Maybe it was because my mom was visiting, but yeah, I kind of drifted away from Twitter and didn't know what was going on. So then I posted an SNL quote that was just a Bobby Moynihan quote. And then people are like, Leash, why would you say something like that? But nobody could figure out what it meant. But at the same time, people were like, this doesn't seem like you. Have you been hacked? Are you being trolled? And it was like, guys, no, it was just an SNL quote. I'm sorry, I'll take it down. But I guess because Curtis was tweeting so much that day that it had people like legitimately on edge, and rightfully so. They expected me to be in on it because I'm up to date on all this stuff usually. Nikki Grimm says, any thoughts on her post on OnlyFans? As a pattern, it fits descriptions of a depressive episode after a manic one, and I felt bad. And then I felt worse because it might all just be lies again. Nikki, I have no idea what you're talking about. If anybody in the chat, especially a patron that can tag me, can give context, of course, don't share OnlyFans content, but I also wouldn't want Nikki to have to pay again to explain that. Or you can explain and then tag me. Maybe I'll see that. I'd be interested to know what you're referring to. Thank you for the donation too. Elise Couture says, love how articulate you are with your thoughts. Thank you. Also, Water Gang. I will oblige. Especially because it helps me because I'm talking for 2 hours. Dog killers back on YouTube. Those people are weird. Also, I'm pretty sure that my magnetic eyelash is like falling off. Hi guys. We're live. Shit happens live. No, I don't know what the OnlyFans. Here's the thing. I probably would have, out of curiosity, paid for her OnlyFans if it were like $5. But legitimately, I made the joke that like I searched for Gabbie Hanna on OnlyFans and then saw how much it cost and then decided to search Corinna Kopf. And they were the same price. And I was like, yeah, if I'm going to pay for anybody's OnlyFans, just because I'm so curious as to what kind of content they're putting up, I'd be more likely to look at somebody like Corinna, who just does a good job at she's just really good at thirst traps. She's just so good at it. And Gabbie, I don't think I'm going to say what those were Patreon thoughts to say what I initially thought of her pictures that she was posting. As far as from what I've heard is just like the same stuff she was posting on Twitter and Instagram. So I'm not sure, Nikki, if you're typing or if you got a chance or if anybody, I do see that I have been tagged on Patreon, so I'm gonna check it out. Thank you, Jazz. Posted a poem. Is it an S word bait? Honestly. Eating poorly, sleeping lightly, thinking violently. I don't know if I should read this or if this is a trigger thing. I'm dizzy. I'm tired painting. There's paint all over me still. My fingernails, maybe on my sheets. And my sheets are fresh and my laundry is done. But my sheets are fresh and my laundry is done. I almost feel like that's like letting us know something like, hey guys, I'm not being sloppy anymore. I had some donuts for breakfast. I don't know why I do that. I always feel like shit after. Do you dip your donuts in coffee? I tried it for the first time this morning. I get it, I guess. I woke up from the sound of someone banging on my bedroom door. Of course, it wasn't real, but it didn't quite feel like a dream. Wow, it's almost noon. I've been up for over 2 hours already. That doesn't seem quite right. What did I... that's interesting. Thank you, Nikki, for bringing that up. Hold on. I'll give you my armchair psychology once I check what my mod is saying to me. Leaf, can we hold off on the compliment? Like, right, Leaf was the one to be like, no big deal to what Bree said. Like, don't check your Patreon notifications right now because it's not a big deal. Then Leaf sends me a compilation of Jeff Goldblum laughing for 10 hours. I'm only going to recognize your DM if it's going to be content for my BAP viewers. But going back to the point that Nikki brought up, I don't know enough about manic and depressive episodes, though what I do know about bipolar, and there are people out there who know this way better than I do, but I have wondered too. I'm like, why has that diagnosis not been one that she's really talked about? Because people do. I've heard so many people who aren't existing like on Twitter and social media saying like, hey, because like I said, people from her life reach out to me and they're like, it looks like Gabbie's having like a manic episode. And I will say to what you said, Nikki, this poem or whatever this is that she wrote, it does have like a somber tone to it, and that's sad, but it almost to me sounded like waking up to reality a little bit, like I think that it is, dare I say, a good sign. I mean, it's not what some people were worried about, and we hadn't heard from her, so I didn't know if perhaps she was 5150 or what, like legitimate worry, not worry, but concern and wonder. Cassidy Miller says, glad to watch you live. Yay. I'm working on an art commission and it's nice to have a BAP to listen to while I work. Well, I'm so sorry that I hit my mic, but I'm so glad that I can provide you something to listen to. Thank you for the donation there. That whatever she wrote and posted, if we call it a poem or whatever, it sounds a lot more attached to reality than we've seen Gabbie Hanna in the past. How long has this been going on? 2 months, 3 months? It's quite a departure from I deserve this and I'm dancing and I'm crossing my eyes and Rachel Oates is a bitch and Angelica Oles is a twisted bitch and Oscar Wilde is a pussy ass bitch and everybody's every kind of bitch and I'm the baddest bitch and my boyfriend left me, but he's my fucking best fucking friend, dude, or whatever she said. Just really did not seem. And just like, oh, Jessi is speaking out, of course, because Jessi is this way and I'm in the right here. And it's almost just like a lot of people said that if Jessi came out with a video like she did, Alistair says Gabbie can't be forgiven after she defended Curtis. Don't blame you. Of course, like the irony there is that you're pretty unforgiving of some people. And there's some people where I'm like, well, I am, but we're all entitled to our opinions. And so on this one, I agree with you. People were saying if Jessi comes out with a video, it's really going to end things for Gabbie, is what a lot of people prophesied. And I wasn't sure. And it really did seem like the whole internet for 2 or 3 months was basically begging Gabbie Hanna to cut it out. Like, sure, we were talking about it. Sure, it's entertaining to an extent. But to see her, really at the heart of all of this was her abusing people, is what she's been doing. And I think so many of us just wanted that to stop. And plus, like, a lot of people, not just for feeling for other people, but were personally triggered by some of the tones, some of the things she was saying. So everybody was just begging her to stop. And, Jessi doesn't come out and say much, but she did in this case, and Gabbie stopped. So it's like, wow, Jessi does actually hold a good bit of power. And good for her for, in a sense, for speaking as seldomly as she does, because then when she does, it's very powerful. Jessi is a very quiet person for Gabbie to act like she's always causing problems. So, honestly, Nikki, that's my initial response. And to all of you, that's my initial response to that, is that this maybe looks like a good sign. It's one of those things where it's like, it's almost like you're worried because somebody is drunk, right? Like, this is the first thing that came to mind. Better analogies exist, I'm sure. But then you see them the next morning and they have a hangover. And of course, that's not good either. They're not in a good place either. But at least you know that maybe they are coming out of that thing that was worrisome. So hopefully that means that things will change. I don't know. Yeah, if we're talking about, I'd rather, we talk about mental health sometimes, and this is why I shouldn't have brought up bipolar. I'd rarely bring up different diagnoses to speculate about, but we try not to do that around here. But certainly when it comes to substances, I just don't want to go there. Honestly, I've said this before, I'll talk about that stuff in private conversations with like patrons and my friends and stuff like that. It's totally fine behind closed doors, but on a public platform, and there's a difference. If for the 7 Gabbie fans out there, excuse me, there's a big difference between the things that people say in private and what should stay private versus what's going public. And I made that point in my video. I talked about Gabbie's obsession with what's public versus what's private, which I think this is a good point to talk about that. Mary Margaret says, regarding private versus public issue, are we having a jinx moment? Because I just started talking about that. I've noticed that abusers will say just enough publicly, provoking their victim to respond so they can play the victim. Honestly, you may not have been talking about me at all. Oh, thanks for the Bob hearts. You may not be talking about me at all, Mary, but holy shit, is that like validating to me, because it drives you crazy for somebody to do the things like to go online and to not name you, but to put plenty of hurtful information out there, lies, whatever, and it be enough to where people can figure it out. It's you, right? And then if you say anything, and like I said in my video, you've outed yourself. I didn't say your name. I didn't make it public. And that's why so many people, Trisha, Jessi, me, Jen, so many people are just like, you're making me crazy because you do this shit. And then you go, I didn't make it public. I didn't make it public. I didn't. Jessi, don't you realize that you're doing this all on your own? Huh? And Trisha is saying, please don't talk about my sexual health publicly. Like, the sexual health and sexual assault, like, how is that like a concept that Gabbie can't get through her head, that like, if people say like, please stop talking about this thing that is personal to me, stop fucking talking about it, dude. Like, that's not yours to talk about. My God. In a Lovely Dream says, it made me feel sick when Gabbie attacked Jessi for how her essay affected Gabbie. Same. There was no empathy for what she survived, only victim blaming. Yeah, It's I hope that I put enough of those clips in my video where she says a lot of things about like how this has been for me. And even in my video, I noted that when she's talking about why she proposed sex to Richie, she was just like crying and she was like, I wish you're going around telling people that I tried to fuck your ex-boyfriend. And like, I wish that I could just go to people and let them know the reason that I needed to do that was to feel something good about myself and to feel like I was taking my power back. And Jessi said, Gabbie, I understand. And for that reason alone, I believe that Jessi Smiles is a saint, a fucking saint, because I could never with anybody who tried to fuck my ex-boyfriend. Like, I don't care it doesn't matter if I don't care about him anymore, but a move like that, I've said already, there's a certain friend code that carries over when you're not friends anymore. So if you're the kind of person to do something like that, you're shitty. Liz says, does anyone think the series will continue? I think she's editing the hell out of the rest and or adding even more to it. Maybe legal made her quiet. Maybe. I actually I suspected that she said she was re-editing the Jessi videos, and I suspected that she was taking time to try to edit the Jessi chapters or whatever to make Jessi look bad in light of this new, and I don't think that she was able to do it, but then it's been going on for a while now that she hasn't said much. So maybe she was going too hard. Perhaps the situation with Jessi, just like, let's not talk about mental health diagnoses, but maybe like this like high that she was on. Oh, that sounds like I'm talking about drugs, but like, this high energy that she was giving off. Perhaps the stuff with Jessi just really just hit her too hard. And maybe she's knocked down and maybe she's waking up to reality. Is the only thing that I can think. But to the private versus public thing, what was I saying about that? I do think that there are certain things that should remain private when they're said privately. I do want to talk about this, and I don't know that I really ever have on my channel. Here and there I have. I don't know if you guys know, some of you know, that I don't really read my YouTube comments. I will typically read the first slew of them that come in the first couple of hours. May says, I've been watching too many crime docs. I'm speculating that she's getting off on re-victimizing the people she's hurt. Oof. That's one to file away for Speculation Nation. That's an interesting one. I think to a degree, I said this in my video, that I think that Gabbie is hurting for sure. And I know that people that hurt people, but like, to take it a step further, to be really like, I don't think Gabbie has a concept of like, this is the right way to get justice. This is the right way to seek fairness. Instead, I think it's just, I'm hurt and that person needs to hurt too, especially if in her mind she can say, I'm hurt and it's because of something that person did, then it's very Machiavellian. That person needs to hurt, however that is. And I think that that's the mindset that she has. Whether or not she gets off on re-victimizing people, I don't know. But for sure, I think that if she's feeling some type of way about somebody, then she wants to make them feel some type of way too. I think that. Private versus public. I've told you guys that I don't really read my comments. I got that tip, I think, from H3, and I also heard Joe Rogan say that. I know I'm not a Joe Rogan fan at all, but he did say early on, he's got the, like one of the most successful podcasts, and he said that like doesn't read the comments, and that's kind of how he, keeps his head on straight for what that means for Joe Rogan. But for H3, you guys know that I'm a fan of Ethan and Ela. And they said, and I love the way they put it, they said that they don't read the comments. And the way Ethan said it, I love this so much. You are not meant to hear the conversations that are had about you. And I think that's so true. If somebody's going to say something about you that you need to hear, that you should hear, then somebody should tell you. And if it's something nice, especially, I'm one of those people that like, if my mom says something nice about Jake, I tell Jake right away. Like, I'm that friend that like, if somebody says something nice about you, I'm going to tell you. If you say something nice about somebody else, I'm going to tell them, because I think that's like, it's free money. And otherwise, we don't need to hear what people are saying about us because we're not going to like it. It's just like people talk about going through a partner's phone. If you go looking for the conversations that people are having about you, you're going to find stuff that you don't like. Because just think about how we talk about people when they're not around. We're allowed to vent. We're allowed to speculate in private conversations, and that's what people do. And so if you go seeking that, you're going to find it. And that's why Stan Twitter is so angry. That's why I'm sorry to you, Stans. Like, you guys are people. I say sorry because you guys are people. And I know that, like, sometimes it hurts to have somebody just, like, speak directly to you like this. And I've had to talk to a very young viewer of mine and tell her to stop. Like, I love you. Stop looking for videos of where people are saying mean things about me because they're not going to make you feel good. And I don't want to know about them. So you're just going to get angry and not know whether or not to tell me these things. So I'm about to read some donations because a few of you, y'all are popping off. Lunar Bun says, I was in a relationship with someone like Gabbie. Her mentality and behavior is so dangerous. I adore hearing your opinions. Thank you. Keep up the lovely work. Thank you, guys. Emma says, it's so difficult scrolling on a laptop with these. In the Jessi and Gabbie call, they talk about a YouTuber that Jessi can shit on her whole life. Gabbie was excited to get the name and gossip even under the circumstances. Did I miss that part, or I just didn't notice? Jessi said that Jessi can shit on her whole life. I vaguely remember that wording, but I don't remember what it was about. Interesting. Katie Louise says there's a difference between hurt people hurting people and a person's hurting another person and feeling nothing. Yeah. While they're hurting said person. It's not that she's feeling nothing, in my opinion. I just think that she feels vindicated. So that's worse in a way, because it's a certain joy in other people's hurt. As Liz says, and that's something that I don't think that she probably, like, I think it's more, this is all armchair psychology. I think that that's something that probably happens in the moment. We all experience that to an extent when we're really angry and we want to just say something mean or say something that, like, really, like, lets somebody know what we think of them. But then once we calm down, like, we don't want necessarily to make people feel that way. Liz says, as the old saying goes, what others say or think behind my back about me is none of my business. Love that. I love it. And people are entitled to that. That's the other thing too, that people, I think sorry to use this word, I don't know a better word, but we've become too sensitive to realize that people are allowed to talk about us. They just are. Danielle says, others' opinions of me is none of my business. I love that you guys are saying this. Amazing. Did I miss one from Lola Bunny? You said, I definitely think this didn't go as planned. When she talked about Escape the Night and Jessi, it was adults that reacted and not her younger audience. The audacity that she's never wrong is destructive for all. Yeah, it's like the delusions are just being, like, outed. Abby says, I hope I have a level head like yours as I continue to grow. 23 feels chaotic, but you give me hope for a more balanced headspace. That's so sweet, Abby. You're so sweet. And I can attest, and I think a lot of people here who've been through it can attest that your 20s, like, they lie to you. And sorry to anybody who's like 18 right now, but they lie to you and say that it's going to be the best time of your life. It's the worst. It really is. It's fun in many ways, obviously, like, that's the time to have fun, but it's also the hardest time. You're broke all the time. You can't figure shit out. Your emotions are all over the place. You don't know how to date. Like, these are just very generalized things, but I think it was when I hit my 30s that I started to really find comfort in who I am. Morgan says, #WaterGang. It feels like it's been too long since the last one. Thank you. And also, let's see, we hear from Alexandra, who says, absolutely loving the look. Thank you. I'm starting to feel tired of it. Loving the look. Also, my hair is going flat. So the look, the thumbnail, and you. Oh, thank you. Signed, Schlee's Baking Grill. Thank you so much for that. What was I saying about public versus private conversations? Yeah. My patrons know that there was a recent situation, and I have a habit of talking too much about personal stuff, but this doesn't give away who I'm talking about at all. But just there was an unfortunate situation where somebody I had a falling out with, completely unrelated to anything that I'm talking about, told another one, like a mutual friend of ours, something, event that I made about that mutual friend. And it was not mean-spirited in any way. It was a frustration out of concern for this friend. And that other person that I had a falling out with told this mutual friend what I said in that moment of concern, frustration, whatever you want to call it. And it hurt that friend. And that friend had a talk with me. And it's just one of those things where it's like, I am sorry because that's hurtful. And like, you didn't ask for that. But at the same time, it's just like, at the same time, I feel like I should be allowed to say these things to my friends. Now, if you go and you air out what people say about other people, whether you're friends with them or not anymore, I mean, that's kind of shitty of you. And it lets people know that they can't trust you, that they can't vent to you. And that's a shitty position to put yourself in, to where you can't, like, people can't open up to you. Like, so don't do that. If you know who that look was at. If you know, you know. Sweet Ophelia says, I love your name. My dress forms, I always name Ophelia. Hold on. Oh, I'm trying to scroll back up. Ophelia, you've been on my mind, girl, since the flood. Sweet Ophelia says, I know firsthand how painful rejection sensitivity is, and I see the anger in her behavior, but clearly her bad personality overpowers the fear of rejection since she calls random people dumb cunts. Yeah, I don't understand that, because I've talked about sensitivity in that it being a two-way street, that I don't think sensitivity is a bad thing, that everybody, like, I think I've talked about just kind of being on a spectrum. And of course, there are different kinds of sensitivities, but just for the sake of simplicity, I've talked about being on a spectrum. And it's like, say that, a 1 to 10, 10 being the most sensitive, that if you are, I would probably, at a sensitivity, I'm probably pretty even keeled, a little bit more on the sensitive side. Probably like a 6, somewhere below a 7. And because I am a 6 or 7, I like to offer the world an 8 or a 9, because you give what you get. And so if you think like, oh, this would make me feel a certain way, then most people would be like, then I'm not going to do the thing that would make me feel a certain way, right? Or sometimes we can be a little over careful. Those of us who are very sensitive, we can be overly careful about how we say the things that we say. And it's because it's a two-way street. Or sometimes some people will just like say shit very bluntly in a way that is really brusque, in a way that offends people. And at the same time, I've mentioned a friend a few times. I'm not going to say her name again, but she's a really good example because she is very brusque. But at the same time, it's like, before you get angry with that person, unless they said something mean, if you say something mean, like, fuck you. But if that person is just being very blunt, maybe you can ask them to be a little more sensitive with you. But if that person themselves, like, prefers for people to talk to them like that, then at least it's congruent, What I don't understand is being so personally sensitive at a 10, where she says, I'm so sensitive, but then your sensitivity that you offer others is in the basement. That's not okay. That's so not okay. So I'm very confused too, Ophelia, about like how she's able to require so much care. And so, like I said in my video, kid gloves, but then like is so brash with other people to the point where it's not just brash, she's offensive and abusive. So Ariel says, if you ever had love or respect for a person, any private conversation should be private. Doesn't matter how big things ended. It's nothing. It's not hard to be the bigger person or be nice. Yeah. I mean, or at the very least, like, be considerate of like, somebody said, is this hurting or helping? Like, yeah, that person that I had a falling out with, I could go tell, mutual friends what that person said about them. But like, who's that really hurting? Like, don't do that to people. Kai says, Kai says, I know it has been said, but her use of clinical terminology and trying to teach people about mental disorders is harmful. Yeah, I have many disorders, but none of those excuses hurting my loved ones. I love this. What I do love that's coming out of all this is that I think a lot of us are coming to an agreement that like we should educate ourselves on mental health and be sensitive to what we learn about other people's mental health, particularly when it comes to struggles. But we have all kind of come to a collective agreement that it's like, guess what? But if you're an asshole, your mental health is not an excuse. It's not. Maybe momentarily, and you can ask forgiveness and give an explanation, but like repeated patterns of behavior of you being an asshole, there's not a single mental health disorder that, in my opinion, excuses that. So thank you for that note. And for the donation for both of you. Abby says, it's like Gabbie Hanna forgot the golden rule. Treat others, yep, as you want to be treated. If she expects all the kindness and fairness, why not reciprocate that? I agree. And I think in her mind, she's already been wronged. She already is the victim. And so she's seeking vindication on everyone. And that's the thing, is that she fails to see that what she thinks other people are starting, she's starting just as much. I think many of us can agree that when we have an argument, those things don't, like, sometimes people just go into a conversation picking a fight, right? But most of the time conflict kind of like builds, right? There's like tension over a certain topic or something like that. And then like words start happening. And then like, oh, you said a word, you said something that I didn't like the way you said that. And then, so then I let you know that. And then like maybe this person doesn't like being told, that doesn't like being confronted. And I think that's how a lot of conflict goes. There's not necessarily, like in most conflict, in my opinion, like where you can pinpoint this is where it started and thus this is who started it and this was their intention to start this. And so it's bullshit, because I can do what Gabbie's doing, which is essentially like finding ways to say that everything is everybody else's fault for starting. I can argue in any argument that somebody else started it. I can start one with me, or then that would be you starting it. But like, I'm just trying to think like me and Gabbie, I'm upset with her for sending a hate mob on me, but I didn't say that like she started any sort of beef with me. I think that I had every right to say what I did on Twitter. I don't think what I said on Twitter was all that bad. I said, I don't agree with everything Gabbie says, so I'm hurtful, I'm hateful. I don't think that I am in the wrong for having said that. But at the same time, that is what prompted Gabbie to say something. So just because I don't think I'm in the wrong for saying that doesn't mean that I'm going to be like, Gabbie, you started this. You started this because you got offended over something that you shouldn't be offended by. But that's exactly the shit that Gabbie would do. So to everybody, so in Gabbie's mind, everybody else started it all the time, all the fucking time. There's never a time where I've never heard her say, I started this, ever. Show with no name. Most of Gabbie's problems stem from her protagonist complex, in my opinion. She'll justify anything and refuse to look outside herself because she's the hero. I'd never heard of a protagonist complex. Interesting. Thank you for bringing that to my attention, because, you really described ways that one of the ways I like to describe her, or one of the ways that makes sense to me, is just like everything is justified. I refer to her as very Machiavellian. But it's funny because usually people who are Machiavellian don't, as far as I know, have a lot of like emotional sensitivity, where she's got so much of it. And maybe that's part of the problem. I want to make sure that I'm making the point about public versus private though, because, I'm trying to think of these times when Gabbie gets upset with people and says, well, I didn't make that public. I didn't make it public. It's very different than like, I'm having a conversation with you about, say, like you and I are friends. We're having a conversation about, I don't know how to kind of like compare. I love making analogies and all that, but I don't know exactly how compare. It's just different. When you're talking about private conversations going public, like in the case of Herpygate, you're talking about a rumor going public. And so really anybody participating in that is in the wrong. And anybody participating in that, and I say anybody participating in that because whoever made up the rumor obviously is the one in like so in the wrong, then I have a really hard time believing that you could gain that information, that misinformation, in any sense, in a way, in a moment that is in good faith. I don't believe so. I think that Shane and Gabbie were shit talking Trisha, and furthermore, I'm trying to think of like what would have been the right thing, because Gabbie's like, I don't know what the right thing would have been. The right thing, honestly, if you really want to, like, the right thing would be either to tell Shane, you should not be saying things like this about other people's sexual health. Like, Trisha needs to know that you're saying these things about them, and or going to Trisha and being like, hey, just so you know, this person is telling people I didn't ask for this information. They just told me that you have this, and that's not my business. So I thought that it's your business to know. It's not Jason Nash's business, David Dobrik's business. It was Trisha's business. And so, hashtag Watergang. Thank you, Ashley. So it's just, the Watergang gives me a moment to gather my thoughts. There's a difference between like what should stay private, and honestly, in a sense, that perhaps like if it had stayed private, it wouldn't have been as hurtful. If Gabbie just went through life being like thinking that Trisha had an incurable disease, like Gabbie could have gone to the grave with that, and then like everybody would have been fine because Trisha is not out spreading that because they don't have it. Pardon my misgendering for a moment. So Gabbie really doesn't understand what should be made public or what should happen once something is made public. And I think maybe that's the thing too, is that I think she's maybe getting too hung up on things having gone public, that she doesn't have to take responsibility for what she said because she wasn't the one who made it go public. So to go back to me talking about me and an ex-friend having a mutual friend, and then that person going and telling the mutual friend something that I said that hurt them, that would be, I feel like that would be like me blaming the mutual friend and being like, well, why did you tell people that I said this thing? It's like, no, I hurt you. It doesn't matter if you told the public maybe how you did it, maybe not, it might be the best way if it concerned people. No, you can be upset with, no, I'm just trying to think of similar scenarios I've been in. You can be upset with people for going public with your private matters, but that's not all she wrote, like there's more to it. You still have to address the thing that hurt. I think that's where I stand on this. I've been trying to like develop when I think about this on the spot. I know that it's in there in my mind. I've just never really talked it through. And that's what I do in my videos. I think that like you can be upset with somebody for going public with something that you wanted to stay private, but you still need to address that thing. I think that's what it is. And Gabbie doesn't ever want to address the thing. Rivi says, also funny how apparently Gabbie and Trisha were friends this whole time, but Gabbie didn't want to tell Trisha directly because they weren't friends. Exactly. Nikki says, how is it not making it public? Going to a random fan and bringing on private conversations with Jessi because it's in DMs, right? With one of Jessi's fans. Can you imagine one of my followers, Gabbie Hanna, going into DMs with one of my followers and being like, well, hell, you don't know. Hell, Alicia did this, that, and the other. And then that follower of mine, or say it's a patron of mine, coming to me and being like, hey, what's the deal here? Gabbie said you did this thing. And then I'm like, well, fuck, Gabbie's spreading misinformation about me to literal strangers. So yes, to your point, Nikki, if you're going to spread either misinformation or sensitive information, private information, etc., to a stranger, going to a stranger is the same as going public. You have no idea who that person's going to tell what. Yeah, I like your point. I don't know if that's adjacent to what I was saying, but it's a good point. Like once you're talking to somebody, strangers, especially somebody who's like not necessarily like in your corner, this isn't a private conversation between two friends, And Ariel says, it seems like Shane's name is all over this drama, yet he hasn't been addressed in anything or asking to be accountable for his actions. Yeah, I think Gabbie and Shane are being cowardly in how they deal with this, and I'm wondering if Shane has dirt on Gabbie. I think that very well might be the case because Gabbie doesn't tell us why they're not friends anymore. Many of us suspect it's because of her relationship with Andrew Sawicki, maybe perhaps her friendship with Megan Mattoon. Yeah, I think that there might be, dude, that the YouTube world, when you're talking about like at the multi-million subscribers level, it's just like everybody's got dirt on everybody. And so like we use that to hush people up and like all that. And it's just like, fuck that. Like, I don't know. I don't like that. I don't like that culture at all. People talk about cancel culture. That's the culture. That's fucked up. It's people having power and leveraging their power against each other. I don't like that. Was there something else that somebody said that I was going to make a point about? I'm really bad at keeping my thoughts during these things. I need a note taker. I've been tagged in a notification. So maybe I missed something. Did I miss something? I didn't, y'all, if somebody tagged me, somebody else. I see, Brittany, you sent me the same thing. Thank you. Thank you. Just for the record, patrons, do your best. Brittany did this, but just do your best to, if you can, hold off on tagging me on anything unless it's related to like what I'm asking or like what we're talking about. Ava Marie. My goodness, that's $20. Another thing that confuses me about Gabbie Hanna is the amount of permanence she finds in the acceptance of apologies. She thinks once an apology is accepted that she can go on to do whatever, and if that person revoked it, they're fake. Yes, entirely. And I get it. Like, it can be very frustrating when you mess up and then you give a sincere apology, and then that person accepts your apology, and then later they behave different. Like, yes, it's hurtful, but you're talking about you're like, oh, you've forgiven me, so I'm just going to go and like spread all kinds of lies about you on the internet because you've already forgiven me for that thing. So it's not like you're going to bring it up again. It's like, that's not how this works. Girl, what's wrong with you? No, that's not how it works. Jeff Goldblum was not related to this discussion any more than he's related to any discussion, which is every discussion. But that wasn't specifically at you, Leaf. That was just in general because we get new patrons every day, and so I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings by anybody thinking I'm singling them out. I'm not. It's just because we get we're really growing so fast that just letting you guys know that during BAP, like I look for notifications usually to come from my YouTube mods to see if there's anything that like I missed a super chat or something like that, or if I ask a question like hey, what did Nikki mean when that person said that, Gabbie posted this thing? And so, so that patron tagging me made sense. Oh my God, Leaf, please. Like, honestly, like, okay, dead serious. That conversation upsets me. Let me read another email here. I haven't even read any of them. I'm going to read them real fast. Number 1, Anonymous says, hi, Leash. I think this is going to be where I email you. This is addressed at the blah, blah, blah. I highlighted all the important stuff. I'm going to read just the highlighted parts. I can't watch her podcast because unlike most, I am one to turn away from a car about to crash. And if Gabbie is anything, she's a series of rear ends and T-bones. One of the clips I did see, however, was Gabbie justifying her actions on her podcast, specifically saying the only reason she called the drama with Jessi, aka her harassing a woman over assault that happened to her almost 10 years ago was because drama/commentary channels had something. I find it fascinating, though very in character. I would have thought now Gabbie would have learned that she can't justify misdeeds by pointing a finger at someone else. I want to hear your thoughts on Gabbie and her problem with deflection. I'm so glad you brought this up, Anonymous, and Gabbie's inability to simply admit. We were talking about this earlier about the inability to just say, I fucked up. Sorry. I remember it wasn't the teenager thing. what I was thinking about was how she's been criticized for referring to Jessi's trauma as R-word drama, right? Everybody agrees that's in poor taste, but also it might have just been a poor choice of words. So, and I think most of us could be forgiving even of Gabbie Hanna, just like with the tone indicator stuff. Like, stop giving these long-winded explanations. Just say sorry, like, sorry, dude, I didn't know, or like, sorry, that was totally poor wording on my part. You can still hate Jessi. You can still claim that Jessi is your abuser. You can still talk about Jessi and all this stuff as much as you're doing. But like, and in fact, I find it to be more powerful, honestly, when you call out your own misdeeds, or mistakes. Just call out yourself to shows your credibility, or that adds to it. So like that frustrates the hell out of me, that she's not able to just be like, oops, that was a fuck up on my part. Sorry. And then let it be. Instead, she had to be like, I called it this because when it happened to me, then other people started calling it drama. It's like, no, stop. Like, just say that you messed up because you did. Like, and that just shows me that if she can't apologize for a poor word choice like that, then there's like, is there any hope? Is there any hope for her? Probably not. Allura says, hey Leash, so I saw Jessi's video about an hour after it aired. So many content folk commented their support, and I went about my day and then mentally hugging her. I came home and crickets. I don't expect you to pop out a video 24 hours later, but I was kind of surprised Dustin and Nick didn't. Even Def Noodles, did he even post today? Oh, this is pretty old. Yeah, I'm not sure what the deal is there. But I did remember that what I wanted to talk about. Rivi says, face yourself, bitch. Something we were saying about when I was saying comments and conversations that are had about you, not in your presence. That's why I don't read my comments. And why did I feel like I had something new to add to that conversation? I feel like I just like deviated from that conversation. But yeah, I think that people are entirely allowed. Because I was talking about the difference between and what's okay, in my opinion. I like, in terms of like what I think of Gabbie Hanna's OnlyFans, right? I'm not going to go on here in a public live stream and trash her OnlyFans, anything that she puts on there for doing it or anything like that. If I'm with my friends, I can give my opinions on those things. You're not meant to keep every single thought that you have inside, because it might not be the nicest thing. But like, that's not a conversation where Gabbie or any of her friends or any of her followers should go, sleuthing around looking for something like that. That's going to hurt her. And that's exactly what they do. They look for things that hurt her, that will hurt her, and that will hurt themselves. When people are allowed to have these conversations, I don't go through their conversations about me. Once in a while, people will send me screenshots, but I ask my people not to send me screenshots. But people are allowed to talk about you. And so that said, I'm allowed to talk to my friends about this sort of stuff. And a little more generalized, I will say a little more to my patrons because it's more in an enclosed space. But that's what I think of like private versus public. Brandy Rose says, gotta go have dinner. Have a great night. Sweetest community on the internet. You guys are all amazing. Thank you for saying that and for paying to say that. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. These people. I don't know why, like when I say put a pin in that, it's because I like literally when I have conversations, my best friend and I in high school used to do this. We used to just have like mental pins everywhere. And I think I just had that pin hanging out, like finish what you were going to say about private conversations. So yeah, I understand that people talk shit about me when I'm not around. Yes, I'm not going to go looking for that. However, if it comes to me, then I'm allowed to, anyway, Sammy says, people who use Gabbie Hanna audio in their videos, please make her levels lower in editing. This sounds like it's directed to me. Oftentimes she's louder than the commentary, including you, Leash. Yeah, that wasn't me. You look gorgeous, says Asha. Happy to catch a BEP again. Awesome. Sammy, you're right. not because just because she yells a lot, but also sometimes like there's just like a ting, like when she doesn't use a microphone. So it's difficult um, to normalize your audio just based on what you hear. So like I do my best and I'll like compare here and compare here. And I think my voice just comes across really soft. And so like the volume might be the same, but her pitch might be higher. We do have similar registers, I think, but when she's like shouting or she's like in a room not using a mic or something like that, then it doesn't have the same like depth and softness that my audio does. So it like, you know, I did notice what you noticed. Ray, thank you for the donation. We're getting close to 2 hours. Let me see if I can pump out a couple more emails here. Deets April said, hey, I just saw the last post in regards to the BAP about the Jessi Gabbie situation or the Gabbie situation. She in herself is a situation. Although she has been quiet, I truly believe she's going to go lower than we have ever seen. It's concerning. My stomach was in knots listening to Jessi, listening to another one publicly plead for her trauma to stop being used as ammunition by a fellow woman who was once a friend. She will sink lower, she will not stop, and she simply does not see an issue in her actions. Her most recent post gave us a glimpse at that. I don't feel any guilt in saying that she disgusts me. She tells herself she's a bad bitch. She's bad, all right, bad like a boil. Scabies, a rash between. Sorry, why didn't I read this before? A rash between your butt cheeks that won't clear up. Love, Claire, your angry fan from Glasgow. Oh, that's funny. Sorry, guys, that's funny. Rivi, thank you. No, it's my sobriety anniversary is really easy to remember because that Mean Girls gif belongs to me. It's October 3rd. But thank you. If that was aimed at me, thank you. Either way. Maybe that perhaps was something that seems like it because about a year ago I was like, my sobriety is almost full. So, but yeah, something about her going lower and lower. This is another one of those moments where I kind of go back and I take it back to the addiction model. And I think we don't know. We don't know how low somebody has to go before they change. It's apparent that Gabbie has to go low. Like it's really like the simplest way I can put it is the harder your head is, the lower you're going to have to go. Your bottom, your rock bottom is going to be deeper. The less you're willing to take in criticism and feedback and be willing to change, obviously. And so Gabbie has shown us that like criticism is just like, it's not only something she can't handle, it's something that she has to fight with fire. So that is an indicator that like this rock bottom is going to be pretty damn low. But where it is, I don't know. She could be there right now. We don't know. But based on when you wrote that email, it probably looked like, yeah, she's going to have to fall harder because at that moment, she was still acting like bad bitch on TikTok and stuff. So I definitely agree with you there that it looked like it had to go lower. Zoe said, I did reply to your tweet, but I put it here too. I used to be quite a big fan of Gabbie and used to defend her. I actually hated your videos. Oh, T. I think I read these, but then it's been a while, so I've forgotten. I actually hated your videos until I watched one and actually listened. Oh, I love that. I'm sickened with myself that I defended her and loved her. Even now, I catch myself almost believing her, but I know it's just because she's a manipulative abuser. She actually needs help. Like, I feel bad for her, but not because of the hate she's getting. She deserves all the criticism, but I feel bad because no one is telling her to stop or get help. They are enabling her directly or indirectly. By them staying silent, they are allowing her to keep doing this. She once said that her friends don't know anything about this besides what she tells them. So that tells me that she's manipulating their thoughts to be on her side. I feel like if they knew the whole story, they wouldn't want to be associated with her. I'm going to have to stop there. But you made really, really amazing points. And I do love to hear that somebody's mind was changed because of something that I said. It just says that I'm very influential, at least, or I was in that moment, to you. And so thank you for sharing that with me. And obviously when it comes to offering criticism, critics want to be heard, especially when it comes to matters like this. I'm not critiquing art, I'm critiquing somebody's behavior, painful, hurtful behavior. Yeah, agreed with so much that you said. Yeah, the other thing I was going to say was that the point about everybody around her enabling her is so true. It's the people that she appreciates are the people who are enabling her, right? So like her fans, we know that Peyton and Irene to some extent were, because we saw it, them telling her, you can say this, you should say this, get this off your chest, and then that being something that ultimately hurt her more. It's toxic. Again, stans, it's toxic to continue encouraging somebody that you love when they are displaying bad behavior. But of course, if you are indoctrinated into believing that this person's behavior is not bad, then you're not going to know to call it out. And I have made it, I've said it several times, and I'm going to keep saying it. I don't want anybody to stan me. Please don't. I don't even like to hear that people are fans. If I continue to grow, it might get to the point where I have to just accept that. But my patrons, for the most part, especially those who've been around a while, know that like I rely on them to keep me in check. And everybody says that. Gabbie said that Peyton keeps her in check. So I guess maybe none of us really know how much we're being kept in check. But I think the health and harmony of your relationships is really a good indicator of whether or not people are properly keeping you in check and if you're actually listening. So there you go. That's an indicator, Gabbie, and fans, and anybody who loves her, really. Shelby says, hello, Leash, longtime watcher and listener, first time writing in, but I've got a lot of thoughts about the Gabbie developments in her series. I'm sure everyone is going to echo my sentiments, but her delusions and complete lack of empathy, it's truly disgusting that she's targeting such kind people and putting them through so much. It is unsurprising, though. My biggest thought is, where is the rest of the series? Same. Everybody's wondering the same. Sorry, you guys, I can't read I can't read all the email, but I can read the high points. Julie says, hi, Leash. Don't know if you got the chance to listen to Emily Baker's live from today. I don't keep up with Emily Baker. I like her, and she's noticed me before, which is really cool. But I see that she does a lot of live streams, and I can't keep up with any YouTubers that I like. Don't know if you got a chance to listen to Emily Baker's live from today. She spoke for a little over 10 minutes on the Gabbie Jessi situation. Oh, I think I did listen to that, actually. Emily's vids are timestamped in the description. In my opinion, she's summed everything up perfectly. As Emily said, Gabbie keeps trying to relitigate the situation with Jessi. Emily stated that she believes Gabbie will continue to try and relitigate the situation until she proves that she's right. She obviously can't do this because Gabbie is dead wrong. Emily also said that it seems that like this is what Gabbie is trying to do with her series. She's trying to relitigate every drama so she can leave the internet feeling like she's won. I think Emily is correct. Gabbie will keep coming back to this. Exactly. And this goes back to, another sentiment that a lot of people are echoing. Thank you, Alistair, saying, I don't think Gabbie's done with Jessi. I don't think Gabbie's done with anyone. Yeah, you're right. And it's what, like, I'm quoting a lot of isms, a lot of like colloquialisms, but one of them being, like I said, hurt people, but also, would you rather be happy or would you rather be right? Gabbie so wants to be right. Like, listen, I want to be both, but I want for my right to lend its hand to being happy, like, and I think where those bridge together is being healthy. I think if you find a place that's healthy, then you can feel like you're right and happy. Maybe I'm the only person who thinks that way. Welcome to my brain. I hope that that's why you're here. But Gabbie just wants so badly to argue herself right. And I've talked about the feelings and the sentiments, they're tarred. She's got her heart is tarred at this point. It's there. She's got a heart, but it's so things are so convoluted that she just wants to hurt people. And so like she's not recognizing that the sentiments, she just says she's matching people's energy. She's not admitting I'm putting ugly energy out into the world and I'm wishing harm for people. And they may not be doing the same for me. She can't see that. So it's just about technicalities. It's technicalities and litigation. I absolutely agree. Vivi says, didn't Gabbie try to get on ADHD meds before she was diagnosed with ADHD? I remember Alicia referring to drug-seeking behavior in one of her videos. I don't want to talk too much about that because, like we said, mental health and substances, and the conversation gets so hairy. But I was confused because she did talk about medications and dates, and there was just some sort of discrepancy. We can't know. Honestly, sky's the limit in terms of possibilities. Number 7, Kane. Hey, Kane. Kane is one of my patrons. Hey, Leish, it's Kane. I've been struggling to keep up with everything since Gabbie started her tirade. One thing I've noticed, though, is that I'm not the only one. Since Gabbie took to her socials to verbally abuse and rile her fans against Rachel, no one has been doing well. Even with her series under the guise of speaking her truth, Gabbie has gone to harm countless individuals, not just public figures such as Joey, Daniel, and Jessi, but also entire communities, especially those with ADHD and BPD. The only thing Gabbie has been able to achieve throughout this is hurting people and furthering the negative stigma those with mental illness have to live with. I'm not one for canceling or deplatforming, but surely this goes against the terms of use for most social media platforms. I'm genuinely confused as to how she's able to continue with this without repercussion and why there's been no official intervention like that. Like the fact that her videos are still monetized is honestly baffling to me. That's all I have to say. Sending well wishes. Kane, I just love the way you speak. I think all of the patrons do. Did I miss a super chat? Oh, that was Ribbies. Yeah, that's a really good point. And I would love to expand upon that point, Kane, and say that it's like we know that Gabbie has offended these communities by speaking on matters inappropriately and attributing certain behaviors inappropriately, and then that offending those communities. But I would go so far as to say that she is also triggering people with people that come from an array of communities for different reasons. She's upsetting and triggering people. And I'm going to be honest with you, tensions are high in my community when Gabbie is at her height, at her peak of abusive behavior and language. And so you can tell it upsets people everywhere. Everybody who's witness to it, it's upsetting to a lot of people. So yeah, it's damaging. I am one. I'm not afraid to say I am one for deplatforming. I understand the argument about freedom of speech. I guess that's like oftentimes why people argue against deplatforming. But in my opinion, every platform has just like Lolcow did. Like their rules and their punishments. I was like, what kind of punishment is that? They're going to revoke somebody's anonymity and just like lay all their shit out there. Oh my God. But at the same time, that's your platform. And if you've determined that this behavior is irresponsible, abusive, etc., you have kind of a responsibility, in my opinion, to do something about that and essentially deplatformed Creepshow, at least on their platform. So I don't see why, and I get it. Like I said, YouTube doesn't want to get involved in like playing judge and jury, but like as an example, I want Roblox to speak up because yeah, sure, the things that are being said about me are not being said on Roblox that I know, or not, I'm not receiving them there. But when people are attaching your name or doing things on your platform that are irresponsible and hurting people, then you should have those things taken away from you. You should. Like, I think that, like you, and it happens sometimes. So where do we draw the line? I think the line should be drawn at if you're just causing harm and you're not helping people, you're just causing harm, then you need to be suspended something. Like we have a right to put a stop to harmful behavior, and that's just something that I just think that there needs to be more funding put into internet law, just kind of organizations that govern the internet and how people behave. More funding needs to be placed into that, and I think that's IC3, which is a sector of the FBI, if I'm not mistaken. There needs to be more funding to those areas because we are existing online. And that's why so many people, that's why, like I said, like kids are unaliving themselves every day and having these thoughts. Like, I can't believe how many times I've heard kids say that they have these thoughts when I, as a kid, never heard any of my friends say that. And it's because we're existing on the internet and the internet is not properly governed. So yeah, that's my judger side coming out, wanting more structure, more justice. Elle says, hello, Leash. I have been very curious about your take on the whole posting a 3 hours long conversation. I think it was a very poor idea for Gabbie, and it makes me wonder if she has anyone near her who actually cares about her. I personally am extremely disgusted that Gabbie is doing this to Jessi again, and I hope Jessi gets to enjoy her rainbow baby from here on out. anyways, thanks for listening. I am happy to report, and I think I did tell you guys, whoa, even more patrons. Ha! I've got a lot of you to welcome and greet when I'm done with this. So thank you so much to all you who are signing up for my Patreon. I was happy to report that after Jessi put out her video, she was feeling much better. And like in terms of putting up 3-hour conversation, in poor taste, because that's one of those things, like I said, should be kept private, especially if you're talking about other people. There were things that said about me in that conversation that I did nothing to warrant that stuff being put out public or said the way that Gabbie thinks of them, and etc. So it is in poor taste. At the same time, one could argue that like it might have been in poor taste for Jessi to make her videos. So I can see where Gabbie has made that connection, saying like, okay, if Jessi's going to put out clips from the conversation, I'm going to put the whole conversation out. Same thing with Trisha with the podcast, right? The difference is what Jessi does, or what Gabbie doesn't realize, is that every time she releases a full anything, it makes her look worse. So the releasing of private conversations I'm about, but it ended up making her look worse. So I'm going to continue going with this because I want to finish reading these emails that I promised you guys I would read. Anonymous says, hi, since Gabbie, I say that as I have 2 emails left. Since Gabbie started talking about the situation making her unalive, have we figured out a censored way of saying that? In the 3-hour phone call, I just wanted to remind everyone that every grown-up individual has a responsibility to regulate their own emotions and seek help in such situations. Trying to put the responsibility of fixing or regulating such serious effects on Jessi by bending to Gabbie's will is highly irresponsible and damaging, both towards Jessi and Gabbie herself. Seek help. Love your channel. Thank you. I agree so much. So much. That is so, not is it only fucking irresponsible, it's abusive. It is emotionally and psychologically abusive to casually put that there. Now, if that's a cry for help, then it's a cry for help. And I would never want to stop somebody from putting out a cry for help. If you do that, whether you are baiting me or it's a serious cry for help, I'm going to take action on that. So if you're somebody who genuinely is in need of help, genuinely needs somebody to go check on you, please don't ever feel bad for having mentioned it in my presence or in the presence of somebody who sent that help, right? Don't feel bad for mentioning it to people. Don't feel bad for talking to a loved one and saying, hey, can I talk to you about some things that I'm going through? It's heavy. I want to warn you, but I want to make sure that you're in a place to receive that. That's okay. It's not to say don't ever mention these things, but just to drop it like that in a conversation, especially with somebody who's not your friend, somebody you're not close to, it's abusive is what it is. It was totally irresponsible. I agree. 2-B says, yay, I was hoping that somebody would say that. Happy non-binary day. I should have just said it myself. I tweeted about it. It's International Non-Binary People's Day. Happy non-binary day, chat. Thanks for your content. Hello, Leash. Thank you for wishing everybody a happy non-binary day. Yay. We needed something a little light. And the last email was from Lauren. It says, hi, Alicia. I'm really wondering at this point if Gabbie Hanna is going to continue digging the hole or just leave YouTube now without another word. Judging by her lack of posting the scheduled docuseries episodes, I'm wondering if she is finally just accepting that the public's response to her defending herself is overwhelmingly negative. Love your content. I'm here for this Gabbie show. This is the Gabbie show now, bitch. Why did somebody say you're binary? Huh. I hope that's a joke of some sort, because I'm allowed to wish people a happy non-binary day, right? I'm sure there's something I'm not understanding. But yeah, that still holds. That sentiment still holds today. And it's interesting because she was pumping them out like one a day or every other day. And I was just like, this is too much. Like just purely from like a performance perspective and just a PR perspective, dumb to keep dropping these bombshells every single day. If she wanted to be smart about releasing the series, she would have done like one a week. And then people might look forward to like, oh, it's Thursday. That means Gabbie's going to put out her next series. Like even to hate watch, even if we don't want to admit that we want to know what she's going to say. But then it just got to the point where it's like, well, we're still upset about the thing you said Monday. And then on Thursday, you've put out this many more episodes. So now we're upset about the Trisha stuff. We're upset about the Escape the Night stuff. We're upset about the drama channel and that grieving mother stuff. Now we're upset about the Jessi stuff, and we're just like, I'm sorry, the negativity, the hate, the criticism, the disdain for you is just piling on top of itself. What made you think that this was going to be a good idea? Because at the end of the day, Gabbie, you're trying, like somebody wrote in and said, that Emily D. Baker said, you're trying to relitigate this thing, and you're trying to use these technicalities, and like you probably could have made a good lawyer, but that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to lawyer your way into being right about all this, and instead you're failing to recognize, and it's because of your emotions. That's the thing, is Gabbie is trying to litigate because of her emotions. She's hurt, so it's not like she is just clearing her name. It's not like something happened, somebody said something untrue about her, and she's just proving that she's right. That shouldn't take that long. It shouldn't take years. And that's also like something I had to accept. Gabbie said some things that were untrue about me. It took one video for me to correct that, and I don't need to like keep going back and picking at it. People accepted, for the most part, that I was right, that I showed that I proved myself. It shouldn't take all this. So she's talking about litigating her human emotions, but she's failing to recognize what she's doing to other people's human emotions. And all these people's human emotions are getting involved. And then like, it's just not going to be pretty for you. Whether you're right or wrong in the end, it's just not going to be pretty. So, did anyone catch the wires crossed in Gabbie's poem? Yeah, a couple of my patrons were tweeting about that, just being like, so somebody crossed the line. So yeah, I need something for my head. I'm going to hashtag Water Gang, the whole chat. And special shout out to those of you who actually followed through with Water Gang. Hugs for all with consent. I'll consent to that hug. Oh, if somebody's being offensive, guys, feel free to boot them. But that said, I do thank almost 1,200 of you earlier. There was over 1,200 of you guys here. I thank you guys so much. Over 1,000 of you guys are here. Almost 400 of you guys have hit the like button. I'm trying to remember to do that. If you enjoyed anything that I said, please, if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button, or if you just like me and you want to help me out. And I should have part 2 of this 2-part. Thank you. I just saw the thumbs go up. Tart poo. Part 2. Okay. Part 2 of my 2-parter should be August. That's so cute. Thank you. Is that a fox? Because foxes are amazing. Thank you. That's really sweet. Yes, and if you are interested in seeing what comes up, we have a good time on these BAPs, and I'm always open to feedback. So if you want to recommend that I do them on different days, different weeks, or something like that, so more people can be involved, totally open to that. Thank you to everybody who's joined my Patreon since the start of this podcast. It's amazing. We love to see the more people growing, and it helps us. Your input helps us to better our community. And it's just a really amazing place with really fucking fantastic people that really look out for each other. Like I was saying, we are tribe animals, and this is a tribe that actually looks out for each other, but is willing to hold each other accountable too, which I really love about this community. Yes, tart poo. And so if part 2 is coming up, and I should have that hopefully to you Friday night. I'll let you know it is a sponsored video, so it is something that I have to make sure that I get done and then submit, blah, blah, blah. But if you are curious about what that is about and you haven't, all hails, you're welcome. Thank you for all the stars and the hug. If you're curious about that video or any other videos coming up, or if you are curious about what the next BAP is going to be about, I'm curious. I don't know what it's going to be about. Or what I might say in it. So part 2 should be on Friday. Tart poo Friday. It should be Friday. But yeah, if you are curious about anything else that I might have coming up, please subscribe. And if you decide that my content is not for you, feel free to unsubscribe. But it definitely helps me big time to hit that 50K milestone, which will be a lot of fun to hit. But yeah, for now, I'm going to maybe take a shower, do some things to help my head. We are awesome. Join us, Ashley says. Ashley is the captain of the Patreon. But yeah, we're having a lot of fun. Things are changing and all for the better. And people are really awesome. All right, guys, I'm bad at outros. I'm really bad at goodbyes because I stretch them out. 50K by after mob day. Hate mob day for sure. I knew it wasn't going to be by mob day. That's all good. All right, guys, I love you so much. I am going to do my best to relax, though. I'm probably going to have to work on editing that video a little bit more. I love you guys. And to my patrons, old and new, I'll see you guys over on Discord. And I'll see you tomorrow for our clubs and all that, and live and all that stuff. Thursday nights are when we have our Patreon fun. Love you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. All right. I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.